The sun.
I'm here with the film director, actor, extraordinaire, Ben Bray.
Actor in another life,
In another life.
Yeah.
And he just dropped the film El Chicano at the, is it Coachella Film Festival?
Yeah, at the Palm Springs Film Festival.
Palm Springs Film Festival.
Yeah, really excited about it.
I just watched it last night, and I'm not telling you because you're here, but it was outstanding.
Cool, man.
And I
Thank
know
you,
superhero movies are hard to, that's like a hard vantage point, hard film to kind of make, you know, without it being too like cheesy or corny. Like what was the process in making the film?
Well, you know, I think the beginning premise of it was I wanted to make it as grounded as possible, and as real as possible.
Yeah.
Instead of pushing and leaning on the whole superhero theme as much. You know, the idea of the film came about. I lost a brother to gang violence 12 years ago, and I started writing a memoir about his life. And through that process, I realized that there is not, in reference to minorities, there's just not a lot of, there isn't any superhero themes of color, of our ethnicity. So, everybody has their Spider-Man, their Batman. In the Latin culture, and now you guys, I mean, it's like, right now you have, Black Panther. And
just right now.
Yeah, just right now. Crazy Rich Asians. So now the Latinos have this El Chicano, which is like this great theme. And the idea of that came about just the metaphor not having a father. And the process was I just wanted to make sure that I pushed a grounded story about culture, about choices you make in life, family. And then secondary being this superhero thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how much of your childhood was inspired by it?
About almost all of it, about 95% of it.
It has a very like real and like gritty like tone to it, like the movie. Cause I didn't really know what to expect when I seen it, but I liked like the rawness of it. You know
cool,
what I'm
man.
saying? And it wasn't like, it's gonna be rated R, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like directors try and skate on the PG-13
Sure, they
line.
always try to, but I got to keep it as real as possible, and we know what it is. So.
Yeah, I feel you. So you grew up in East LA?
I had friends and family, and we were raised in East Los Angeles at a very young age, and then our mother moved us out to the San Fernando Valley. Okay. Just to kind of get us away from trouble.
I feel you.
Even though I still associate with a lot of people from East Los Angeles. But we were raised out there, and most of the premise of the story happened around the San Fernando Valley. I just felt like, ideally, because a lot of Mexicanos and Chicanos come from East LA, that it just made more sense to have the story there more. Yeah. But it's a universal message, wherever you go in reference to Latin communities and the barrio and everything else. So,
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's cool. We're really excited.
So what about like the mask and like the weaponry? Like where like culture is that? Is that?
Well, it's the Aztec culture. There's little Easter eggs within the story that kind of tells about Diego, the lead character, that there's a clean bloodline, which we just touched on if you saw the movie about the sacrificial knife that the Aztec used to empower themselves and feed the gods with sacred hearts. But also, the mask itself was just a kind of a combination of hiding his identity, but also having this authenticity of the culture itself, like the Aztec calendar and things like that. And that mask was actually, I'm sure you caught it in the movie, where Pedro's younger brother was in the process of making that mask. And he finishes it off. So, there's all these little hints of the culture itself in there, which you like. We didn't want to kind of oversaturate it, but just enough to just give a little taste of it. I feel like the audience needs to be a little subjective and let them tell their own story also. You don't have to hold their hand through everything.
I feel you.
You know
That's
what I mean?
where when you get a great film is when you just let it kind of like be, just like manifest.
Exactly.
And was there any importance in making the character Diego like a millennial, like a particular age, like 30 years old?
Yeah, I think that just came from the storyline itself. I mean, they're young boys, the little vatos growing up in East LA, and they're watching each other's backs, and it's like this moment when as we all remember as kids, you grow up. There's specific times. I think once you start leaving your teens, you go into your early 20s. You start to make the decisions on what you want to do with your life.
For where the path is going to be for the rest of your life.
Exactly. So it just kind of, it was nothing specific why I did that. It felt right within the story that he was going to be in his late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I liked how also like with the character El Chicano, like it kind of chose him. It wasn't like a specific character because it was El Chicano in the past that he's seen as a little boy. Yeah. And then the actual character chose him to like fight for what was right. Was that like a main theme that you wanted to make sure prevalent?
I wanted to kind of create kind of a dual message of like here he thought as he crosses this journey with his brother, you know, it's like the typical, which I want to do during the writing process with Joe Carnahan when we did the rewrite. It was this thing where, you know, instead of mourning a brother's death, and this relates to what I dealt with when my brother passed away, I was angry, you know, so I went against the grain and I dived into my work and that process. So the same with Diego, he dove into being one of the youngest detectives in Los Angeles. And I think that there's a moment where he's just trying to make sure that this doesn't happen to other families. So so this kind of split journey that happens, he finds out his brother is not as bad as he thought he was. And he was trying to become this mythical character who now really is passed on for him. He's never, and it's a beautiful moment too. It's like from him learning things out in the streets to being in the Marines to, you know, the LAPD Academy. It's like, it's a subconscious thing, but also like, he didn't know that he's actually getting ready to be pass the torch onto him. You know, he's like, I guess you could say the chosen one. So, it was a very specific thing we wanted to do.
Okay, because I seen that part where in the beginning he had like his perception of who he thought his brother was, and then when it switched, and he was, I think I forget what criminal, he was in the back of the car.
It was Shotgun.
Shotgun was in the back of the car, and he had gave him some information, and that kind of changed it. And I also like the relationship that the mom had defending the other brother all the time.
Oh yeah, of course. Which is
that's like
in our society. Are you kidding me? It's, you know, at least in the Latino culture, all the time, it's like they can't do no wrong. And it was, you know, it's a mother's love. It's like this line of a todo madre. You know, it's like this perfect love you have for your mother, and like, you know how bad and how worrisome they get, but they, especially Latin mothers, they always see the good side in anything, especially with their own you know, sons and daughters. So that was always a fight. That came definitely from my life and trying to help our brother out to get out of the gangs, you know. But yeah, most definitely.
Did any of the projects that you did in the past like help you with the development of this?
You know what? In reference to the action, I started off. I'm old, man. I got in this business in 1989. I started off as a like your typical Hollywood stuntman. There wasn't a lot of guys.
Stuntman?
I was a stuntman. I was a stuntman for 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So there wasn't a lot of. We used to call each other brown guys. There's not a lot of brown guys, brown girls like Latinos in the business. So I didn't have a film school background. I learned by watching and doing on set. So. You know, here I was sliding cars, doing high falls, fire burns, you know, getting pulled on wires. And then I made the transition into stunt coordinating and then eventually directing second unit for specifically Joe Carnahan and David O. Russell.
Okay.
So I did Smoking Aces, The Gray, The A-Team with Rampage Jackson.
Okay.
And then so I learned all this action and story, as well as I learned story from David, which was, I did The Fighter, I did all the second unit. I also did American Hustle, Silver Linings Playbook, Joy.
Wow.
So that became my film school for the last 5 years of my career. And I've written a couple of short films for John Chu's production company. And it started putting me on the map. And Carnahan had a TV series that he had created called State of Affairs with Katie Heigl at NBC Universal. And I got my first episode of television. and it just kind of snowballed from there. And so in the meantime, as I've written my first feature, I direct all the superhero shows in Vancouver, Canada. So I do Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl.
Okay.
All those crazy shows. So yeah, all that stuff definitely prepared me.
You just kind of soaked up game all along the way. And
man.
And then you found out when that this was like gonna be your calling as far as like being a director.
I knew when I was in my mid-20s I wanted to tell stories.
Okay.
You know, it was just going to be a process. And for minorities, it's tough. You know, it's not an easy thing. You know, so. I had some people that really backed me up, like Joe Carnahan and David O. Russell, that were really there for me, and some other people that really helped push me, you know, towards that career.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write this particular script?
You know,
the development of it.
The development, it was 12 years, man. Wow. I started writing it over a decade ago, and unfortunately, you know, in the process of like, as you're moving up in the business as a stunt coordinator, as a second unit director, you know, it kind of goes off to the wayside a little bit, but I was always working on it. And we had an unfortunate tragedy with my family. I lost my daughter when she was born. And I took some time off, and Joe, being my best friend, said, yo, you know, other than how passionate and how much love you have for your wife and your kids, I know this story's always meant a lot to you, and maybe therapeutically, it's time to finish this thing and dedicate it to your brother and your daughter. Damn. And that's what I did. I went to New York, man, for 4 weeks. I had a friend, had an apartment in the financial district, and I sat in the dark for 4 weeks, and I finished this thing. It was 188 pages when I was done. It was really long.
Wow.
But I brought it out back here to LA, and my boy Joe had a place out in La Quinta. And we sat here for 2 weeks, and we stripped it down, and we pulled from it tequila shots, hugged it out, cried. We did everything.
Yeah.
And we ended up with these amazing 125 pages.
Okay.
And so it was really diligently the last 2 years, we really brought it to fruition. And we found some private financing in Calgary who really loved the story, who really wanted to be a part of it. Yes, we had some movement with studios, but the studio system wanted to change a lot of things, and I wanted to keep it authentic about the culture, about the streets, about the people. So we just fought to get private financing, and here we are.
I could feel like the authenticity in how long it took to make, because the storyline never drags at all.
Cool, man.
It's like a good time limit, and it never drags. Usually, I feel like there's a particular time in a superhero movie where you're just like, oh shit. Like,
there's a little bit of exposition going on. It's like, all right, now, like, what's the next thing we're doing? Yeah.
Everything is like perfectly done, you know. So I know you took your time with it.
I did. Thank you,
very, very, very good movie, man. And I don't want to wish you luck, because I know it's going to be successful.
Oh, thanks, man.
I only really wish luck for people that, you know, need it. I know it's going to be successful because it's one of a kind, and especially with the climate of like things going on with like racial stuff.
Yes.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, I think it's perfect timing, and we didn't plan it. It's just, I think everything's happened for a reason. From, you know, the idea, unfortunately, that my brother passed away, and then my daughter, and then on the first day of shooting, bro, in Calgary was on my mother's birthday, and she had passed away a year before that. And then this whole Trumpism and all this craziness that's going on with the wall and separating families and children dying, and it's just like, it's a crazy time, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I think it's something that we need out there. You know?
Need it. This movie is definitely necessary for the times.
For sure, bro.
I'm glad that I got to watch it early.
Than's, man.
And it's a very, very good movie. Do you want to say anything else about the film?
No, you know, I think that I think the main thing I want to say is, we just talked about too, just to touch on it again, is that there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
You know, there hasn't ever been a Mexican superhero themed film.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's, you know, it's for every authenticity, but you know, at this moment, it's like, you get to see familiar faces on screen. You see brown faces, you know, and it's for the community. Movies for the community, and for the Latin people, and for minorities just in general.
I can see that. I can feel that in the film. Man. It feels very authentic. And this is your first film?
This is my first film.
That's crazy. That's why it takes time to do what you really want to do. He said 12 years. This is his first film. I would have never guessed that.
Oh, thanks, man.
So how many do you intend on keep going with it?
Yeah, right now the main thing for me is I want things to be Latin based because it lacks that. If you think about it, the last Latino movies were over 25 years ago. American Me, Blood and Blood Out, Mi Familia, Selena. So as a Mexican American director who's from Los Angeles, if I have the opportunity to continue to tell these stories, not only with just Chicanos, but African Americans and Asians, and really mix to see what the community is, not only out here in Palm Springs, but in Los Angeles and New York and Texas and Arizona.
Yeah.
I want to be able to do that. So yeah, I'm already getting offers. We're trying to figure things out right now.
And I see at the end you left it kind of open-ended if it was going to be a sequel.
Oh, there's a sequel.
Okay, it's already coming.
It's coming. Yeah, we're in the process of writing right now.
Okay. I already see. I was like, okay, I see. That's like I feel like that's the common denominator in superhero films. Like it leaves that.
Oh, you got it.
You have to do that.
Oh, you have
it's
to
mandatory.
do that. Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely a series of films, so we're excited.
Okay, so and then everything is going good as far as like how the audience is receiving the film?
Yeah, they've been blown away. I mean, it did really well at the LA Film Festival. There was an Austin Film Festival we did. Immediately right after LA Film Festival, Tom Mortenberg's company, Briarcliff, who's Tom's company a couple years ago, won an Oscar for Spotlight.
Okay.
They purchased our film already. They're excited. They're pumped. I know, dude. That's dope. It's pretty wild. It's very surreal right now.
That's dope, man. I'm very happy for you, especially
Thank you, man.
A man of color.
Thanks, brother. Yeah.
Creative artist. You took your time, and now everything's coming into fruition. That's exactly what I want to see as an artist.
Yes, exactly.
That's exactly what I want to see.
Exactly.
So this is episode 3 of Coachella Magazine. This is the amazing Ben Bray and El Chicano.
Go see it, man. It's gonna be fun.
You better go see it.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, man, it was great.
Yeah, man. Thank you.